of mine, associate of mine, somebody who has helped me in my own business, somebody who I'm truly grateful to work with, and I've learned so much from. Caleb, I would love to ask you, would you tell us a little bit about yourself, like your background? What made you this person that was so into the creative space, so into branding, so into social and digital content creation?
Yeah. God.
I
Right.
love
I
it.
think this is kind of innate in my DNA, right? Like I think at a
Yes,
certain point, I've just always been a creative person.
yes.
But for me, as far as like how I ended up in this particular space was just mentorship and
Mm,
placements. And so I started actually working, my career started in the church
mm,
and it started in youth, but then from there it turned into media because in the background, kind of freelance as well as for youth, as well as in my like late teens, I was already kind of doing stuff on MySpace. I was doing like social media stuff on MySpace and creating like a clothing brand and getting into design because I was in a band and I was doing
clothing.
music stuff. And
Mm,
so music, you always need design. So like I
yeah.
kind of started becoming that guy.
Hmm.
And then outside of leaving, working in the church, being staff in the church, I started getting agency jobs. And so I just started working for multiple different agencies. I worked for one for about 8 months and then shifted into another one where I basically became I fell under mentorship of some incredible designers where, I was an okay designer at the time. I really, looking back, felt like I was pretty mediocre in all things considered. And I say that because I'm a little bit more analytical. So I view everything from a more structural perspective rather than just an artistic perspective. And so as I got into the space and I was surrounded by all these designers, I was
Mm,
just able to kind of absorb the way that they thought and that kind of became this thing where I started to just fall in love with design in a way that I never had, brand and storytelling. And I was always into storytelling, but now it was like, how do you position storytelling into a brand message, into impacting people and
mm,
shaping belief and like also igniting people to follow what you're trying to create and build and launch and impact the world with or impact the industry with or what the space that you're in. And so that kind of became where I started to fall. And then from there, it just kind of evolved over time. It was whether it was different jobs, different roles, different placements that I went, I did, creative director work for a little bit. And then I ended up starting a social media agency and I was doing that for a minute and was, heavily focused on personal branding. So it kind of became this consistent evolution of what is a brand? What does a brand look like? How do you define branding? And how do you also purposefully, strategically position branding to make the greatest impact in the space that you're trying to impact? And so